This is the fourth video that I'm making. I want to give you some tips, some pointers, some helps in creating the newsletter assignment that's due at the end of this week. Specifically, I want to talk to you about using color as contrast. Actually, using color and using contrast. Now, this is the template that I gave you to work from. And you'll see it's a fairly plain black and white newsletter template. And in and of itself, there are a few things wrong with some of the design, but in and of itself, the black heading newsletter title, the table of contents over here, there's really not much wrong with this particular document. But if you recall from the book, if you've read the chapter about contrast in the book and you recall, or if you go back to the book and review it, they show you a couple of newsletters. One that's a fairly plain black and white, normal, run-of-the-mill newsletter, and then they showed a kind of a punched-up version of it. And it's very obvious if you had those two newsletters together, the one that you would choose to read, the one that you would pick up first, would be the one that was a little bit more interesting. This is not a bad design necessarily, although, as I said, there are some things in here that we would change with regard to alignment and things like that. But it's not a bad design necessarily, but it's not one that people would necessarily pick up. The example I like to use is a newsletter between, if you're sitting in a doctor's office and there are a couple of newsletters on the table, and you have one that's a medical sort of newsletter. There's some medical journals that put out, or medical organizations that put out newsletters, and they're fairly, it might be a little bit more colorful than this, but they're fairly generic. And the doctors read them because the articles are very interesting. But if you had that, and then you had a newsletter with lots of bright colors and some really good design elements on there, some good contrast, and it was about something else, you would probably, your eye would be drawn to the one that was more colorful, and you would probably pick it up and read that instead of the boring medical journal newsletter. So the goal of creating a newsletter is to get people to pick it up and to read it. Second goal is to get people to pass it along. And people are going to be more likely to pick up a newsletter and read it if it looks interesting, if it's appealing, and then they'll be more likely to pass it along for the same reason. Now, someone asked, with regard to color, should the font and the pictures be changed with regard to color, or should something else happen? I'm going to give you a hint. I'm punching this up to make it a little more interesting for a reader. The title of the newsletter title, is one, as I said, it's not a bad thing, but it's boring. So we want to punch that up a little bit. First of all, we want some contrast. Black on white or white on black is probably the most contrast you could have. And ironically, because two colors couldn't be more different. Ironically, though, this black and white newsletter doesn't look like it has a lot of contrast on there. Sure, the pictures stand out because they're darker, the text stands out, but there's nothing that really makes it interesting. I would suggest creating a masthead. Now I'm going to show you how to make a masthead for underneath where it says newsletter title. Before I show you how to do that, I want to give you an idea for some inspiration. I'm going to go to my File tab, and I'm going to choose New. And from my new window, new document window, I want to find my newsletter. There's my newsletters. It's usually under the most popular. I'll choose newsletter. And once that loads, I want to just show you a couple. What I want to do, we're not going to create a new newsletter, but I want to show you a couple of interesting newsletters. Now, if you think of your black and white newsletter that we just looked at, and you look at this preview, of those two, which would you be more interested in reading? You would probably pick up this one. Even something like this, where you have a little bit of contrast of color here. This one is an interesting one with the ovals in that. And with this, you can get as creative as you like. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. I have only one. This is one that we used yesterday. I used yesterday in a video. This banded one. It's an interesting design. It's very interesting with the rounded rectangles and how it kind of pops in there. And the colors make that title, newsletter title, pop. My suggestion is to look at a few of these and get some ideas. The only rule I have about creating anything like a masthead for your newsletter is you cannot copy it from here or from anywhere else. You can get ideas. Personally, I like the rounded rectangle. You might not like that. You might like something that's, and it might not go well with your document. You might have an idea for a newsletter and this sort of look wouldn't go well, but you still want to create some contrast with a masthead and with color. I'm going to click on this real estate one. This is a little more formal. You might want something that's a little more formal. You want to get the color in there, but you want something that's a little more formal. Let's see what else we've got. Don't ever use this one for anything, this blends. It is overused, and this particular template, blends, is available for just about every document you could create. If you go into letterhead, you can find a blends letterhead. You could find a brochure, etc. This just screams publisher, so don't use it. In fact, I would say don't use any of their templates unless you want to look like you just threw something together from a template. This one with the phrase bubble, the word bubble here, is kind of whimsical. Maybe something you might want to use a different sort of shape and put the newsletter title in that shape just to make it a little more fun. This one, the capsules one, gives you a little bit more oval. You get the idea. I'm going to go back to my original boring black and white template, and I'm going to create something probably off to the side here. Whoops. I want to keep my newsletter in view so I have a rough estimate of how large I want it. But I'm going to create something with some shapes. I'm going to click Insert, Shape, and I think I'll probably start with a rounded rectangle. I'm going to create a rounded rectangle that's roughly the size. How far do I want to go here? Probably want to go about that large. I think that looks about right. Just so I can get some idea that I have the right size. I'm going to drag that rectangle over it, and see it's a little bit too big. So I'm going to make it a little smaller. And while I'm working on this masthead, I'm going to drag it back here to work in the scratch area. Now I know that that rounded rectangle will fit well underneath my newsletter title, the words newsletter title. I'm going to fill it with a color. Again, on the Drawing Tools Format tab, I'll choose Shape Fill. I think I might choose well, no, I think I'll use this color scheme just for the sake of using it. I think I'm going to make it, I don't like that blue. Maybe I'll make it this, let's change the color scheme. I'm going to go to page design and maybe choose just a different color scheme. Maybe I'll use, the problem here I'm encountering is I haven't taken the time to decide what the focus of the newsletter is. Is it something about kids? Is it something about financial investing? Is it something about health? So I'm having a hard time with the color. I'm just going to choose one because I don't want to necessarily go that far into this assignment. Maybe I'll choose this Fjord one. Now I'll go back to my Drawing Tools Format tab, go back to my Shape Fill, maybe fill it with that green. That's kind of a pretty green. I'm just going to, I'm going to use that teal. I like that teal. I'm going to get rid of the shape outline. You'll see there's a black outline around my shape. Let me click off of it. You can see there's a black outline. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to click on Shape Outline under the Drawing Tools Format tab. And when I click on Shape Outline, I get my scheme colors, my standard colors, and then no outline. I'm going to click on no outline just so that I don't have any kind of outline there. Now, I think I probably want to extend my masthead at least down through the table of contents. I think what I'll do is create another shape. So I'm going to go to Insert, Shape, and just to make it easy and not exactly all that interesting, but just to give you an idea, then you can come up with your own creative ideas and create your own masthead. I'll do another rounded rectangle. Now I'm going to draw my rounded rectangle going from about here to, and I'm just kind of eyeballing it for right now so I have some idea. And now I'm going to drag this over here and see, I always make it too wide. I'm going to narrow that up a little bit. That's good. Drag it back to where it was. Right about there. And I'm going to fill it with the same color. So on my Drawing Tools Format tab, fill it and then get rid of the outline as well. Now you see, I'm going to group these. I'm going to select, and this is something that I think I showed you how to ungroup once before, but I don't think I showed you how to group items. The purpose of grouping items is you can move it all at once. You kind of put various items together and you create one larger image. This is my masthead, or the beginnings of my masthead. And I want to see how it's going to look underneath the newsletter title. So I'm going to click on the first shape, hold my Shift key, click on the second shape, and now you'll see there are sizing handles around the entire thing. On your Drawing Tools Format tab, almost all the way at the right, under Arrange, you have Group and Ungroup. Well, Ungroup is not an option because there's nothing grouped. I'm going to choose Group, and watch when I do this. Yeah, you can see where my mouse is, and I'm going to click on that button and watch the shapes, what happens to the sizing handles when I click on that. So go ahead and look back at the shapes. You see all of a sudden a lot of the sizing handles go away. The rotation, there's only one rotation handle now. This is now a grouped object. Let's drag this over here a tiny bit. It's going to cover that, so I need to arrange it. It's not going to let me send it backwards? That's a problem. Wonder if I need to ungroup it to send it backwards. At this point, I want to send send this all to the back. Oops, I didn't want to bring that forward. I wanted to send it back. What am I doing? You'll notice I ungrouped it to send it to the back. Right now they're both still selected, so I'm going to click group. And I think I might move these text boxes around a little bit. Let's see here. Just to make that a little bit more even. There we go. That looks pretty good. I'm going to drag my grouped items back. And you can group and ungroup as you need to. Drag that back. Maybe add another shape. Insert, shape. Maybe this time I'll add a white. Let's see how this would look. What I'm trying to do is decide how it would look if I just adding other shapes. I'm going to click that, which is my oval shape or my elliptical shape. Just for fun, what happens if I do something like this? No, I don't want to do that. I want it to go more towards... What I'm doing is trying to get something that's going to look almost like a cutout. Now that obviously doesn't look like a cutout. But if I get rid of my shape outline, no outline, and if I fill this, go up to shape fill, and if I fill it, I'm going to choose more fill colors, and right in the very middle is white. Now over here it looks like a white oval on my document. I'm going to nudge this down a little bit. Remember, you can use your arrow keys on your keyboard to nudge a little bit. You know, I think I might just resize that a little tiny bit. I'm going to resize it so that we get that cut out. There we go. Let me show you what this is going to look like if I put it underneath my newsletter title, put it on my document. I want to group these so I don't have to worry about moving them individually. So I'll click on my elliptical shape, hold the shift key, click on the other shapes, choose group from my drawing tools format tab, and now I'm going to pull this right over here. I might need to send that oval to the back, so I might need to ungroup. See, I will need to ungroup. I'm going to ungroup, and I'm going to send this to the back. You know, I want just the oval to send to back. Oh, I don't want it all the way back. Okay, let's bring it forward a little bit. Let's undo. There we go. Actually, I guess I probably want to send all of... I'm going to send all of these backwards. What the heck? Include that. I don't understand. This I want to send it back. And this I want to send it back. I'm not getting why this is still covering. I guess I just need to, let's go all the way backwards. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. Let me go ahead and select all of these again. Now you'll notice some of my text here is getting moved around. You can deal with that later. But right now we're just creating this masthead. I didn't want to do that. That's what I didn't want to do. I want to select this object, select this object, and select that. Nope. This is going to be a little tiny bit difficult, maybe. Here we go. Select. Select. And select. Now let's group these. I think I'm going to need to send, when I group it is where I'm getting into the problem. I'm going to need to bring this to the front. Bring to front. And then it'll work, okay. Is the rest of it gonna fit right? Let's see. A lot of this is just trial and error. You need to just play around a little bit with it. There we go. I think I got it now. Now you'll notice what happened, which was my whole point. With this oval, when I put it on the white background, it actually looks like this is cut out. Honestly, I don't like that top part, so I have a couple of choices. I can either draw another rectangle of that color, or I could continue to play around with my oval until I got it exactly the way I want it. This is almost the way I want it. I know if I bring that oval, make it shorter in length, it's going to change the way it's cut out. I like the way it's cut out right now. So I think what I'm going to do is just insert another shape, a very, very small rectangle. And I'm going to go from this corner, oops, to here. I don't need to go quite that far. I just want to fill in that white area of that oval. Shape outline will go to no outline. Shape fill will go back, oops, go back to this color. I might need to nudge that a little tiny bit. Oh, come on. You select it and nudge it down. There we go. I think that's good. I'm going to zoom in and nudge it, because I don't want to create something that's imperfect for you. If I zoom in, I can get the nudging a little bit easier. That might be enough. See, I didn't make my rectangle quite large enough. I'm going to extend that up a little tiny bit, and I'm going to nudge it again. Good enough. That's close enough. Now what you have is a masthead that comes across the newsletter title and then down the side with the table of contents. You might want to play around with the table of contents a little bit to create some contrast. Frankly, this color here, this whole thing is very boring. Let's zoom in to see what we can do here. I know there's an object here. There's a picture. Maybe I want to recolor that picture. When I click on it, I get my Format Picture Tools tab. I'm going to click on Recolor. Maybe just play around a little bit with this. Maybe more variations. Remember, if I think I'd like something a little darker. That's kind of monochromatic. I'm using the same color, so I think I might go with this. I don't really like that. Maybe try that blue. Not sure that that blue is going to work for us. think I'd rather, let's just go ahead and go with the purple. And click apply. Okay. This text here, I don't, honestly, with this green, I can't even read it. Oh, contents. I'm going to select that text and I'm going to change the color. Don't like that green, but maybe we'll stick with the green and go with the darker. That would work. Maybe a different color outline on this shape. Maybe a different color fill. Now you'll see when I click on that shape, which is essentially a rectangle with a black border, if I click on that, I get my Drawing Tools Format tab. I can choose possibly a shape style. This is perfect because when I use the live preview, if I just drag my mouse over this, you'll be able to see this, see the live preview. Black obviously is not going to work. That's a little bit, just blends in a little bit too, that's a little too bright. That might work. Please keep in mind that I have no idea what type of newsletter I'm creating. So when I'm choosing these colors, I really don't know if it's appropriate for my newsletter. I'm going to go to Shape Fill. I might do a gradient. And choose, if I point to gradients, and then choose at the very bottom more gradients, I kind of like maybe a two color gradient. Let's see. Or let's try one. Let's try one color gradient for now. And let's choose, really we just choose that purple a little bit. I can use this slide rule to go from dark to light. Dark, if it's all the way at the dark, the color goes from the color 1 to black. Light, all the way light, it goes from the color to white. Somewhere in the middle will go to gray. Actually, it won't go to anything, it'll go to the same color. You can find a gray though. Over there, you can find a lighter gray over here. Let's go about here. I want to go from center, just because I saw something over there that I thought was interesting. Or I could do diagonal down, or from corner, vertical. You know, I might do the vertical. Let's choose that one, that variant. Again, this is all your choice and what you want, how you want to do it, and what you want to essentially play around with. I'm nudging my box over a tiny bit because I think I moved it. That looks better. I'm not sure about my purple fill. I'm going to go back to my shape fill, go back to gradient. The reason I'm not sure about my purple fill is because the picture is purple. I'm not sure I want to, maybe I'll go with this green, dark to light. Oh, it might be a little bit too vertical. Let's try that. My apologies, I had the wrong thing selected. Select my box, the correct object again. Shape fill, gradient, more gradients. Right now I'm at purple. I'm going to choose my green and choose that one. I'm not thrilled with these colors. Maybe we'll play with the color scheme in a little bit. But for right now, let's just go ahead and you'd be much more likely to pick up this newsletter than that plain black and white one. So you've applied contrast, and I really haven't applied color theory because I don't know what my document is. But we've talked about color theory. There's a lot of information on videos and other things that I've talked about on color theory, so I think you can figure out which colors to use. I want to point out a couple of things to you that I had left hanging in the last video. I'm going to go to Blackboard. I don't remember if I told you about these links. These are in, let me go back to where we're supposed to. You log in and you come to this. This is your home page, your landing page. I'm going to go to assignments. I'll go to week 8. Go to face-to-face. No, I'm not sorry. I'm not going to go to face-to-face class. I don't remember if I pointed these two I think I did point these two articles out to you. They're online articles about color theory. I talked about a color scheme generator that would use the RGB colors in one of the previous videos. There is a link on Blackboard to that, to an RGB color scheme generator. There are also my videos. This video will show up as video number 4 over here. Let's see. Let me go back to we get assignments, my color scheme generator, and I believe that's all I wanted to show you with regard to that. Okay. Keep in mind that you're going to want to choose the type of newsletter you're creating first, so that you can get a sense of what the mood of the newsletter should be. A mood for like a parenting young children newsletter would be very different from a financial investing newsletter, or a graphic design newsletter. All of those would be very different. So you want to know what your mood is. Is it more towards, children, a little bit more light, a little bit more formal? You want to choose that first. And from there you want to choose your colors. There will be at least one more video coming. But for now I'm going to end this one.